Yeah. How about you?
So far, so good. Yeah,
Hmm.
I just take it moment by moment because, as you know, things can get better or worse rapidly.
Exactly.
Yeah, and but luckily for me, I feel really proud of myself because I just designed and constructed one of the largest bridges in the world. It's called the Golden Gate Bridge, and you can see my art piece right behind my head.
Oh yeah, I was reading about that.
Yeah, yeah. It's
You're,
like,
you're
it took
quite
me it took me forever to get that project up and running, but luckily I had some help.
you're quite an amazing guy.
Yeah, yeah. It's amazing what I can pull off.
Yeah, not
Yeah.
only building people's lives, but extensive bridgeways.
There you go. Yeah. Uh, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. My challenge is to make sure I don't fall off the bridge.
that's a good one.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we'll get started here.
Okay. Sounds good.
Great. Hello, I'm Franklin Marshall with Tip Grow, and we're here with David Thiermann. It's exciting to have you here today, David. You are a guru in consulting and coaching. Good day and good afternoon.
Yeah. Yeah. It's great. In fact, I noticed when I woke up this morning, the sun was shining, which is a good thing because, can you imagine waking up in the morning and all of a sudden the sun doesn't come up at all? That'd be a little problem.
Oh yes, I've written a song about oceanic blues, and I talk about in it if the sun's not up and it's heavy fog, I got oceanic blues.
There you go. Yeah. Yeah. Uh,
David, can you give an overview of what you do? And you've spent some time in various other businesses, and you even spent some time in Africa.
That's right. In fact, that's one of the things you and I have in common because I know you've had some adventures in Africa also. And I'm surprised we didn't cross paths.
Maybe our next journey.
But Africa is a big place. So I mean, I remember I was in Tanzania from 1965 through 1968, and somehow I didn't realize that my cousin Susie Giddings was also in Africa at the same time. She was in Uganda in the Peace Corps, and somehow I don't know why, but nobody ever told me that we were could have visited each other.
Wow, could have.
Yeah, we could have. And then she ended up being in Nairobi for another 40 years teaching at the international school there. So she had a lot of fun hanging
Wow,
out in Nairobi for 40 years.
wow, that's
Yeah.
that's that's pretty cool. Africa is a interesting place, really unique place.
Yeah, they say, if you ever go to Africa, be careful because if you ever leave Africa, you kind of leave your spirit in Africa and it can create a few problems if you come back to wherever you came from, if you don't bring your spirit back with you.
Oh yeah, yeah, that's a mysterious place.
Yeah.
You've done a lot of counseling and consulting people, even consulted me, David, and you're pretty amazing.
Well, thank you. I used to think over the last 40 years that I had this career consulting business, that I was consulting or counseling other people. But it took me 40 years to realize that what was really going on is all my clients were consulting and counseling me. I was the one that needed all the help. It wasn't them. And as long as I kept my mouth shut and let them tell me their story, I was able to steal all of their wisdom from them. Yeah, without them knowing it. Yeah,
Is that a good pitch for getting into the consulting business?
I highly recommend it because if you're in the consulting business, you get to listen to other people's stories. And as you know, everybody's got a unique story to tell. There's only two parts to their story. First part is everything that's happened so far. Second part is everything you'd like to have happen between now and your death. And as long as you can stick to that byline, you can learn a lot about where people are coming from and where they're going.
Is that kind of like being in the barber shop or the hair salon?
Yeah, in fact, as you can tell, I'm quite the stylist myself. I actually, this haircut that I have right now, I did with a Flowbee. Do you know what that is?
No, it looks like a Floby.
Do you know what a Flowbee is?
No, I don't.
Yeah, so and I'm just joking about this,
It's a
but
pretty cool hairstyle.
well, thank you. Yeah, Floby is actually my brother's been using one for over 40 years, and he claims he's saved thousands of dollars because a Floby is basically it looks like a hair dryer, but instead of blowing hot air out the end, it actually sucks your hair into the device at a certain length. So you regulate the length you want. You just rub it all over your head, and it cuts your hair at all
Oh,
the
really?
same length. Yeah, and you can buy them at the flea market. My brother's been using a Floby for over 40 years, and he claims he saved a lot of money by cutting his own hair. Now, I was just joking about mine. I actually hire a wonderful woman who you might know because she was had a retail store right around the corner from your coffee shop in the Capitola Mall, and so I go see her once a month.
Is she the tall lady?
I don't know how well she's not that tall, but
Oh, that was a different lady then.
yeah. But anyway, she's wonderful. She's been cutting hair since she was 15 years old, and she's now in her late 30s. She's also a real estate agent,
Hmm.
and yeah, her name is Kendra, and she's my psychiatrist also. I
That's
mean,
what I was just going to ask that.
yeah, because when I go to her, I know I can while she's cutting my hair, I can tell her all my deepest, darkest, whatever, and she still loves me.
Well, that's probably equivalent to Sherlock Holmes or the CIA.
Yeah, yeah, and it was amazing is she doesn't record anything I tell her, but for some reason, even though she's got a lot of clients, she remembers every detail that I shared with her.
Hmm. Well, she's a pro now.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, and plus she's got a great attitude and she's beautiful and there's all sorts of things. Yeah,
Well,
uh,
that makes a big difference, huh?
yeah.
It makes you it's enjoyable to go and get your hair cut.
Oh yeah, I keep coming back for more. And in fact, my two of my other hairdressers over the years have since retired. One of them moved to Oregon, and the other one moved to Mount Shasta. And I introduced them to each other, and now they're best of friends. But so far, I've had really positive experiences with my hairdressers, and of course, I fall in love with them, and that's why another reason I keep coming back because everybody deserves to get attention and feel appreciated.
I'm sure,
Rather
I'm sure, I'm sure they enjoy having you come, to listen to them and you listen to her,
yeah.
so it's a reciprocal.
Well, and plus I always eat a mint before I go to see my hairdresser because I wouldn't want her to think I had bad breath.
Well, that's good for counseling.
Yeah, yeah,
I mean, that's like, would that be considered counseling 101?
yeah. That's counseling.
Counseling 101?
Yeah, that's counseling 201.
Do you
Yeah.
prefer a Tic Tac versus a Gum, and why?
Yeah, no, I actually I get these things at Staff of Life right there it's right, you can get them right at the cashier. I think they're made by a guy named Meltzer, and they're
Local
supposed
guy?
to be they're really good. I mean, just one of them will disguise your halitosis for at least a few hours.
Oh, excellent, excellent.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, that's
Uh,
really good.
the other thing that I do so that people don't get turned off by, in addition to my breath, is I make sure I put in my calendar once a month to trim my nose hairs because that can get pretty gross if I'm not on top of that.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah,
you're a wise man.
yeah. I'm just trying to make a good impression.
You've grown wiser by the day.
It comes in leaps and bounds. I mean, there have been times where I thought I was losing all my wisdom, and then every once in a while I'll run into somebody who reassures me that it's still there somewhere. I just got to find it.
Yeah, you got it, man.
Yeah,
You got the Midas touch.
yeah. Every time. Oh, in fact, speaking of the Midas touch, check this out. Hmm. I don't know. Can you see that? Or there it is.
I can't see it.
Well, let's see if I.
Oh yeah, I can. Oh wow.
Yeah, that's a. Now you can tell how strong I am because I'm holding this. This is
Is that
pure
real?
gold. This is gold. Let me
It's
turn.
real?
Oh yeah, man. Look at this.
Oh man.
Look at that. It's
Wow.
1,000 grams of gold.
Whoa.
That's As I said, I got the Midas touch, man.
Whoa.
Yeah,
How heavy is that?
it's pretty light. It's fake.
Oh,
It's not real. And it's amazing, at a networking opportunity that I was at recently through Santa Cruz Works .org, because I meet a lot of people through them. They had a networking opportunity up there at Casa Tiempo, that restaurant right there. And
yes.
this guy was giving these things away.
Wow.
Yeah, and I said, "Is it okay if I take one?" Sometimes they'll give away T-shirts, but I thought this is pretty cool to give
Yeah.
away, 1,000 grams of fine gold.
Yeah. Oh, wow.
Yeah, so I feel very rich.
Totally impressive.
Yeah.
And would that be considered a gimmick in motivational speaking?
Oh, yeah. In fact, I remember once, speaking of motivational speaking, I remember watching Tony Robbins perform once, and as you know, he's got a few tricks up his sleeve. But he was giving a talk to a huge audience in this auditorium, and at some point, he asked for a volunteer to come up on stage that he could interact with, and this guy gets up on stage and sits down next to him, and there was a coffee table between the two of them, and there was two glasses of ice water, one for him and one for Tony Robbins, and he and Tony encouraged this volunteer to talk about all of his troubles. So the guy went on and on about how his wife left him and how he had failed in his business, and he had all these diseases, and oh my God, and his son was in jail, and it was just on and on and on and on. And right in the middle of it all, Tony Robbins picked up his glass full of ice water and poured it on the other guy's head. And the guy goes, "Wow!" And Tony goes, "Yeah, that's how you interrupt somebody's pattern." Because he wanted the guy to come up with a new story, because the guy was just, he was going on and on about how terrible things were in his life. And Tony was trying to say, I guess, that, hey, if you keep telling that story, terrible things are going to continue happening to you. Let's create a new story, that's more positive.
That's pretty good.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
Now, I'd like to pour a glass of ice water on your head right now, but I'm not sure if I can do it if we're just on the internet.
oh. Well, that gold bar looks better.
Maybe I'll wait till I see you in person.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
I personally was I have a client who is in the film business. He still is. He made two feature films in Santa Cruz. And the first one, I went to the grand opening, and I was blown away because it was his first film, as to how sophisticated it was for his first try. And then he offered me to have a speaking role in his second feature film. And I'd never been in a film before in that capacity. And I thought, what the heck, I'll try anything at this point. And so in his second feature film, I was the alcoholic, dysfunctional father of some teenage girl that didn't want to have anything to do with me. And I'm trying to call her up to find out how my ex-wife, her mother, my ex-wife, is doing. And she basically tells me to fuck off.
Yeah.
And that's the end of my scene. It took like maybe, 5-10 seconds.
Oh, wow.
I practiced it for, 1,000 times so I wouldn't screw it up when they were ready to shoot. And finally the director got there, and the producer, and all the lights, and everybody standing around, and I freaked out and I couldn't remember the lines. So I had to read it off of a script, and luckily they were able to somehow salvage it. But now, I can tell people, yeah, I've been in a feature film in a speaking role, right? Which is, quite an accomplishment. And I have so much respect for anyone who's an actor or actress to be able to memorize their parts. I mean, I don't know how they do that. Because I couldn't even remember one that was only lasted for 5 seconds.
Well, they say that people get into doing this to the point to where they almost, when they have a character, they repeat it so much to where they become that character.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Well, I guess that's why, if I'm going to be in another feature film in a speaking role, I'm just going to be myself, and I'm going to spontaneously interact with the other actors. I'm not going to do it if I have to read a script, because I just can't remember what I'm supposed to say.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like I'm in a movie with you right now. I mean, there wasn't a script for our movie right now, right? We're just doing a spontaneous
Right.
interaction with each other. But, I could tell people, yeah, this is all scripted, and they'll go, God, these guys are brilliant. How did they remember their lines, right?
Right. Right.
But it's just spontaneous. You're being who you are. I'm being who I am. And if people don't like it, they can jump off the Golden Gate Bridge, as far as I'm concerned.
Well, you have a system that you use when you're consulting people.
Yeah, my system is to try to create a sense of humor, because I'll tell you something. There's only two people I've ever interviewed that made it to 103 years old. They were both women. And I asked them both for advice because I figured, hey, if you lasted that long, you must have some wisdom to share. They both gave me the same advice. Whatever you do, don't lose your sense of humor.
Hmm.
And I don't know whether you agree with that or not, but
Yeah, well, they said that people live a lot longer when they do have a positive attitude.
oh, okay. Well, you mean so it's interesting because you're connecting a positive attitude with a sense of humor. So that tells me that if I don't know, what does that tell me? If you're
Well, I think
connecting,
don't those work together?
yeah, I think so because
Positive, because
how can you be bummed out and have a sense of humor?
well, I guess someone that's in Hollywood, they could do the same thing.
Well,
You know,
that's
they could be pissed off on one hand, but they have learned their script so well. What, like fake it until you make it?
oh yeah, fake it till you make it. Yeah, or bake it till you take it. Yeah, yeah, but yeah. So, but it's fun being in a movie with you, Franklin, because hey, so far I'm having a good time.
Oh, good, good,
Yeah,
good.
yeah. I haven't experienced anything that you've said or done that would have told me that it's time for me to leave this Zoom meeting. I'm still here.
Yeah. Well, unlike the White House,
Yeah, I don't know.
did you see that? That was amazing.
Oh yeah, it was amazing, and that's why I thought maybe it was scripted because it was just so bizarre. I don't know that kind of interaction has ever happened in the White House before in the whole history of this country.
Well, I'm sure it has, but probably not broadcast
Oh, okay, good point. Yeah, yeah,
because I'm sure, people have squabbles, but I mean, that that's a possibility, but why bring it to the public? I mean, I don't know.
yeah. Well, yeah, and how did you feel about it? I mean, when you watched that scene in the White House, what kind of emotions came up for you? Was it anger, hurt, sadness, fear, love? What happened?
Confusion.
Confusion. Okay. Okay.
And I think a lot of people had that reaction
Oh, you
because
did. Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
no nobody expected that.
Right.
Everyone, usually if there's an argument or if there's disagreements, people do that in the back door,
Yeah.
back behind the doors, and then they come out and they shake hands, even if they don't like each other. So, so this was put on the world display to
Yeah.
to get a certain point across, I guess. You
Yeah.
know,
Well,
that's
and another way of looking at it is we know all too well, maybe you would agree with me, that one of the core values that our friend Donald Trump has is to get as much attention as possible on him. And he'll do anything for attention. So, hey, this created a lot of attention on him, don't you think?
worldwide.
Worldwide. I mean, just like all of a sudden, everybody was focusing on him. It's like, so maybe I should try doing what he did and what Vance did with some of my friends sometime and see if I can get more attention.
Do you think the crypto they have their coins? Do you think that they will get a higher value on their cryptocurrency?
Well, I hope so for their sake. I've never played that game myself. How about you?
No, I've never played it either.
Yeah. Back in the old days, in the Old Testament days, currency was basically a big salt cake that weighed maybe 100 pounds, and it had a hole in the center of it, so you could put a rope through it and tie it to the side of your camel, and that's what the currency was a big salt cake. And we've come
Mhm.
a long ways.
Oh yes,
Yeah.
it's changed. It's changed a number of times.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
you can imagine what it would be like if everything we bought and sold we had to pay for with chocolate covered donuts.
Well, yes, and people are worried about that because is it a chocolate covered donut or something else?
Yeah,
Because with the inflation and the prices going up.
yeah, boy.
A
Well,
lot of people I look at a lot of TikTok and people are crying on online. They're saying that they're making $100,000, but they still can't pay their bills.
Boy, that's a problem because I mean, I remember when I was living in Africa, work that was from I got there when I was 19 and I left when I was 22. It was between 1965 and 1968. My job there as a 19-year-old, I was in charge of 1,000 patients in a leprosarium, and my job was to provide them with a means of employment in occupational therapy. And I did that by starting a business making traditional African musical instruments and then marketed the instruments through various different nonprofits. So they taught me a lot about their music, and it was 3 of the best years of my life. But by the same token, I mean, I remember back then I was living on $30 a month. I was living on $1 a day. That's all. Well, they provided a hut for me to live in, but other than that, all my expenses were about a $30 a month. And in fact, I got a friend right now. He did his PhD at UC Santa Cruz in American literature. He ended up working at the Library of Congress for 32 years, finally retired there, and he went to India to check it out, and he fell in love with India. He rented out his home in Washington, D.C., and he's living in a remote part of India right now in a beautiful, brand new 2 bedroom, 2 bath home for $130 a month.
Wow. Well, that's the same thing in South Africa or any of, all over Africa.
Yeah.
I was there and you could stay in a decent apartment for about 150 a month.
Wow. Amazing.
Yeah, and in the other African countries you can stay for even less than that. Some places you can stay, I mean they're remote, but you can stay for 150 per $150. Yeah, well, 150 per month
Yeah.
or less, or $50 per month.
Right.
In like
Yeah.
Tanzania and some of those countries, but South Africa, I saw some for 150 a month for certain apartments. Well, you had I mean, you've done some consulting and you advertised in my newspaper once.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, that newspaper back in 1991, I believe it was called Access News, and you're in competition with another newspaper called The Good Times, and it was you had a wonderful newspaper, and I felt very privileged to be on the front cover of your newspaper, and it created a tremendous amount of business for me. So thank you for that.
People called me up and they asked me, you know what they asked me?
How many guesses do I get?
They asked me if you were a god.
Oh, okay. And what did you tell them?
Judy Brosi was the one that asked that.
Oh, okay. And what did you tell her?
Oh, I don't know. I was stunned that she would
Yeah,
ask that.
yeah,
Is this
yeah.
a god
Well,
or something?
well, I'm glad they asked you whether I was a god rather than asking you if I was a goddess.
Well, I guess I probably said you were a guru.
Yeah, because I'm thinking if I come back here on the planet, I'm not going to be a god anymore. I'm going to be a goddess. I'm coming back in a female form because I'm tired of being a guy.
Oh,
It's just too much work.
too much work, huh? Well, how many people have you counseled in your career?
Well, there's been over 5,000 over the last 40 years.
Oh,
But again, I it took me all this time, 40 years, to realize it. I wasn't counseling them; they were counseling me. I had it all mixed up. And so the benefit of being in the profession I'm in is that all of my clients are my professors, and and I'm their student. And that's why when people ask me about my website, which is Santa Cruz University.com, they go, well, what's that all about? And I go, well, I'm the only student in my university, and all my clients are my professors.
do you think the trip to Africa had anything to do with you getting into consulting because you were helping people out when you were there?
Yeah, I think I mean, all my life, I was exposed to my uncle and my dad, who were both involved in nonprofits like the American Friends Service Committee, which is an interdenominational and non-sectarian service organization that was started by the Quakers anyway. And that's how I ended up doing volunteer work on a couple of Indian reservations when I was a teenager, in Pala Indian Reservation and Barongo Indian Reservation. And then as a teenager, I went with a bunch of other teenagers to help build a school in Canada in a place called Argenta, British Columbia one summer. And then another summer, I was with another group of kids and we went to Ciudad Victoria on the east coast of Mexico to help remodel a church. And then on another occasion, I ended up in Africa for 3 years working in the leprosarium. And then on another occasion, I was on another project in Haiti in the Caribbean, helping to build a public health dispensary. And on another trip, I was working for an organization called Conflict Limited, which attempts to improve business relations between Japanese and American businessmen. And I was their first ambassador from Santa Cruz. So I got to live in Hiroshima, Japan for a year and go to a lot of sumo wrestling and traditional tea ceremonies and museums and temples and schools and factories. And then I was doing research in French Polynesia on French Polynesian musical instruments, comparing the ones I found there with the ones I'd found in the Amazon when I was working in Brazil in the early 70s for the Ministry of Health, organizing TV shows for them on public health education. So I feel very fortunate that all of that happened because of my dad and my uncle, because they were also volunteering for the American Friends Service Committee. In fact, my uncle he was an attorney. He ran their office in Northern California for 20 years and then handled all of their diplomats out of Geneva, Switzerland, and then became their representative, their ambassador to the United Nations.
Wow. I didn't know you had done all that, David.
Yeah, and that's why, I feel so fortunate that I had the opportunity to have all those wonderful volunteer experiences when I was much younger, because now that I'm 79, I just don't have the testosterone, the naivete, and the idealism anymore that I used to have, which I think is necessary to have those wonderful adventures. So I'm glad I did it when I was much younger.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that contributed a lot to your humanitarian outcome in life, in terms of reaching out and helping people.
Yeah.
Because consulting, that's all consulting is, and you've created compassion over the years and empathy that
Yeah.
you can sit
Well,
down with somebody and really, you could probably read people really well.
Well, and they can read me pretty well because, as I said, I thought all these years I was helping other people, but all of a sudden I came to the conclusion all these people were helping me. And so I was the one that was benefiting from the interaction. But to tell you the truth, over at the gym where I work out, when my buddies over at the gym ask me what I do for a living, I don't tell them that I'm a consultant. I tell them I'm an insultant, but I tell them I charge more for that.
But
Mm.
the reality is, they always say if you get together with someone, a lot of people that go to their counselors, they end up getting their answer just by talking to someone else. I mean, and they talk themselves through to the point to where they get the answer themselves
Yeah,
without the counselor giving it to them.
yeah, no, you bring up a good point because I notice with many of my clients, if I can just remember to keep my mouth shut and listen to them and witness them talking to themselves out loud, they'll figure it out on their own. But they need somebody there to witness them talking to themselves and documenting everything they say, which I do, and then I feed it back to them at the beginning of the next session, and they perceive that as being therapeutic.
Don Steiny, he doesn't believe in luck. He said there's no such thing as luck. He said luck is determined by the network that you have.
Oh,
I
wow.
thought that was pretty profound.
Yeah. Well, but he may change his mind if I can get him to kiss the Blarney Stone in Ireland.
Oh, why is that?
Well, because the Irish they believe in the four-leaf clover,
Oh yeah,
which is all about luck.
right. Oh,
But
exactly.
in order to convince Don that there is something called being lucky, I'm going to have him kiss the Blarney Stone in Ireland first. Maybe
Uh,
that'll change his mind once he kisses the Blarney Stone.
he said he's gone to workshops and that was one of the places that he learned it from a professor from some study that he experienced. And after he told me that, I kind of agreed. Because unless you put yourself out there like what you do, you're going to multiple meetings, and most people don't do that. And you meet people at those places that you end up working with, them working with you. It's a reciprocal deal. Like you said, they're helping you. I used to go and sing at a convalescent home, and same thing. I would go before I would go there. I would feel like, I'm going here, and these people, it's like on and on and on that I would feel this certain way. But after I would leave, I would be so elated. I'd feel
Yeah.
so good. It was like, whoa, man, I feel really energized after going and singing to these elderly people.
Yeah, well, thank you for doing that. In fact, I used to do that too, but this one time I was doing it at Dominican Hospital or Dominican Oaks, which is connected to Dominican Hospital, and there was a group of 80 and 90-year-olds, and I was supposed to be playing some music for them, and instead I bought this thing at the flea market, which was a fish that was about this big that had a battery attached to it. And if you turn on the battery, the fish would start moving around and sing a song. So I brought that, and that really cracked them up. I don't think they had laughed like that in a long time.
Oh,
Yeah,
wow.
I played my fish for them.
That's good. Well, I mean, that kind of humor, is
Yeah.
therapeutic.
Yeah, they say that, and I really enjoy hanging out with people who have a good sense of humor, and I know you do. And I've worked with professional comedians before, and I asked them, how do you make people laugh? And they all said the same thing. They said, well, what you do is initially when you get on stage, you have to let everybody know that you are a comedian. You got to tell them that's what's going on. And then what you do is you tell the truth about embarrassing subject matter. The audience's physical reaction to the embarrassment experienced vicariously is laughter. And that's how you do it.
Okay.
And on this show, while we've been interacting with each other, every time I was able to get you to laugh, it was because I tried to tell the truth about some embarrassing subject matter, and worked every time with you.
That
See?
was staged. I practiced that.
Now that's embarrassing. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's well, laughter. They said laughter is like a medicine.
Oh, yeah, definitely for me. In fact, I noticed that if I'm not conscious of the fact that I need to continue to keep things light and use humor, my tendency is to get too serious and spiral downwards rapidly, which is
Mm.
no fun. So I don't know about you, but I try to keep things light and bring as much humor into my interactions with other people as I possibly can. Now, don't get me wrong. Some of the jokes that I tell people backfire on me, and they never will talk to me again because of it. But for the most part, I try to uh, tell jokes that are considered okay to tell. As an example, here's one for you. Do you know why French people like to eat snail?
Nope.
It's because they're not into fast food.
Oh. Oh, that's a good one.
Yeah, yeah, right, yeah,
Yeah.
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 But but we could always get into the X-rated version of that one, but maybe on another occasion.
Yeah. Now, where do you get most of your
I,
jokes
I,
from?
I get all my jokes by stealing them from other people.
But I mean, do you go through a book or do you find?
No, I just encourage other people to tell me their joke, and then sometimes I forget what they told me, so I have to have them tell me again. And all the jokes I have, I got from other people. So yeah, I'm completely dependent on other people's resources.
Well, I won't put this one in the recording, but this friend of mine, he was a white guy,
Yeah,
and he said that the sergeant had his group of men, and he had half of them were black guys
yeah,
and half of them were white guys,
yeah.
and he part of the training was you have to duck, you have to get down. That was in Vietnam,
Okay.
and when you saw the enemy or heard the enemy, you have to jump down into your position so that you're not seen to get attacked. And he said one day he saw the enemy coming and the fire, and he said, "Get down, get down, get down." And he said the black guys start dancing.
That's a good one. I like that. You mind if I use that later this afternoon? I know exactly who I'm going to tell that one to. Yeah.
Now,
Now the question is, if James Brown had been there, I wonder what
yeah.
he would have done if the sergeant said get down.
Right. He would have split.
He would have said he's pretty good. Now, how do you do that without
Oh,
hurting yourself?
I
I mean,
know.
it's like I tried that once, and man, it was disastrous. I it took me months to
Well, I
recover
think
from the
he
sprains between my legs.
he was short. He was a short
Oh
guy.
man.
We're tall. Little people can do a lot more. I mean, when you see him on stage, you couldn't tell that he was a short guy.
Oh boy.
But when
Well,
your leg,
it turns out my brother Eric just remind me the other night we were at a party, and he reminded me that he had done a video of James Brown. He'd been hired by James Brown to do a video of him when he was playing in
wow,
Monterey,
really?
and yeah, and it's on YouTube. And I'm yeah, it was like he told me this was a funny story because he said the auditorium in Monterey was full, packed with people who are waiting to hear James Brown. James Brown shows up, and the producer goes, "Okay, get on stage, do your thing." And James Brown said, "Oh, wait a minute, I forgot. I got to go do my hairdo, but my hairdresser's up in Oakland." So the producer almost had a heart attack because James Brown drove all the way to Oakland and back to do his hairdo, and all these people had to wait for all this time for him to get his.
Whoa!
Yeah, at any rate,
Oh man,
um,
that's wild. Yeah,
boy,
James Brown, he was a character.
boy, yeah, is he still alive or?
No, he passed away a few
Oh,
years ago.
he did. Okay, yeah. It's sad because there's so many wonderful people that we know about that have visited us on the planet Earth, and some of them are still here dancing with us, and some have decided to go dance somewhere else.
Yeah. What about Willie Nelson? Is he?
Is he still alive?
I don't know,
I hope so.
but he's probably around 90, huh?
He's getting up there.
Yeah.
Speaking of which, did you ever hear that joke about the mouse that died and went to heaven?
No.
Oh, so this mouse dies and goes to heaven, and God says to the mouse, "You know, you've been such a good mouse. I'd like to give you a present." And the mouse goes, "Well, you know, I've always wanted a pair of roller skates." So about a month goes by, and a cat dies and goes to heaven. And God says to the cat, "You know, you've been such a good cat. I'd like to give you a present." And the cat says, "I don't need a present. I have Meals on Wheels."
Oh,
Yeah, yeah, right. Yeah.
that's good. That's good.
Whoa.
Well, that's well, humor and laughter is good
Yeah.
therapeutic.
Yeah, do you remember the humor man?
No.
He was the guy that sold the ice cream. You know, he would in that little truck and he'd play those tunes in the truck and go through your neighborhood.
Oh yeah,
He'd
yeah.
sell ice cream. I think he was called the Humor Man.
Hmm.
And boy, when I heard that jingle that he was playing out of his truck come down the street, man, I wanted some ice cream real bad.
Yeah, the ice cream people still play that jingle.
Man. Yeah, I don't tell anybody, but I'm addicted to ice cream.
Oh really? Oh
Yeah.
man, I love ice cream too, but I can't eat it like
Oh,
I.
how boy, bummer. Yeah.
Oh man,
Yeah.
yeah. So yeah, my things change. I
Yeah.
figure.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
I ate it for 60 years or
Yeah.
50 years. So
Yeah.
what?
Well, what happened to me once is I was in a children's zoo in Philadelphia when I was about 10. And, you know, there's a bunch of animals and all the kids, including myself, were petting there was pigs and donkeys and chickens and whatever. And I had just been eating an ice cream cone and I'd finished it and my hands were all sticky. And there was a water faucet about 10 feet away that I could go over and just wash them off. But there was a big pig standing right next to me. And I thought, well, I'll just put my hand out there and let the pig lick off my hand. Woo! Big mistake, man. That pig almost bit off my hand. He thought, man, I don't want the.
Really?
Oh yeah. So I wanted to give you some advice today. If you ever have ice cream on your hand and it's sticky, don't stick your hand in the mouth of a pig. I don't recommend it.
I grew up with pigs.
Okay, so you know what I'm
Yeah,
talking about.
they don't eat anything.
Oh yeah, yeah. And they're really smart too.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
mean, I have a feeling they may be smarter than us. I think they are pretty
Uh,
smart.
this friend of mine said he was telling me he had a pig's heart.
Oh yeah, it's interesting that they've come come to a point now where they're taking all sorts of organs out of other mammals and putting them in human beings. It's like it's amazing what they're able to do.
Does that mean that we're Crimeas right now?
Yeah, I mean, it's like, yeah, some people are more hybrid than others, but it's like it'd be interesting if what would happen is like, let's say if you were to take the heart out of a human being and put it in a horse or a pig that needed a heart, whether that would work.
Hmm. I'm sure that's going to come about. We have
Yeah,
we have Neuralink. Although Neuralink is supposed to solve everything, right?
right. Well, it's amazing how our conversation went today because we did this big circle and we came back right back to Elon Musk. I mean, no matter what anybody talks about these days, it starts off with Elon Musk and the conversation ends with Elon Musk.
Well, David, we're about done with an hour. Can you
Yeah,
can you give some tips on what people can do? I mean, a lot of people are dealing with some stressful times right now.
yeah,
The
yeah,
economy and all of. I mean, you think about the federal workers that have been axed. They thought they were going to have these jobs forever. A lot of them,
yeah,
but now Doge has gone in and like obliterated a lot of jobs, and
yeah,
there's a tremendous amount of uncertainty in the economy.
yeah.
Can you
Yeah,
give
so my only advice about tips is make sure you don't get too tipsy.
too tipsy?
Yeah, because if you get too tipsy, because you're overloaded with tip, you might fall down and hurt yourself.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Well, the economy is having some interesting times, and I'm sure you hear that all the time.
Yeah, yeah. The only other tip I'd give you is that, and I stole this from a friend of mine, is that there's really only one thing that we need to heal during our lifetime, and that's our sense of separation. It could be a sense of separation from our own personality or our own soul, or separation from our friends or family, or separation from nature, or separation from God, or whatever but you said what we're all attempting to do is avoid that sense of separation by being connected with each other and supporting each other however we can. So I wanted to thank you for being helping me with my sense of separation today by inviting me to be on your show.
Well, it's. I mean, you've gotten me to laugh more than usual. Although, I mean, I love coming down to your show too. Don Steiny, he's calling me right now.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
But I mean, I'll call him back.
Okay,
But
yeah, call him back and tell him give him my love,
yeah, yeah.
and
Well,
tell him not to get uh too separated.
yeah. Did he
Yeah.
come? He come last week?
Yeah, he did. He was there. He always shows up, and he's always got wonderful wisdom to share with the group.
Oh, good, good.
Yeah.
He's going to come on and share also.
Okay, great. Well, you can tell him that I hope his sharing goes well, and that he doesn't say anything on this show that he will regret later.
Well, he has a lot of he has a lot of insight on things, and
Yeah, yeah,
he's eager to share it. So
yeah.
it's exciting. He was a part of my African Trade Network,
Oh, that's right. Yeah,
and he was on there every week sharing with people. He loves networks. That's how I
yeah,
met him.
yeah.
I met him over at the O Wrigley's building. He was having some network meetings with Marty. You probably knew Marty,
Oh, yeah.
and that's where I met Don.
Okay. I
Around.
thought you were going to say you met him over at the Wrigley's building and you guys were chewing gum.
Oh yeah, well I that goes way back.
Yeah,
When did
yeah.
they close? They closed, about what, 20 years ago?
Yeah, I guess they didn't. I guess they probably moved somewhere else where it was cheaper for them to produce bubble gum. But it's interesting because I heard the way Wrigley's got started is initially they were selling soap, but then and they were giving away chewing gum to get people to buy more soap, and then they realized, wait a minute, people are getting addicted to the sugar in the chewing gum. Let's just sell them chewing gum and get rid of the soap.
Really?
That's what I heard.
Well, that's what happens in business, though. You had an orange juice, fresh orange juice company, right? At one
Yeah.
point,
Oh, yeah. I was
and
addicted. I was addicted to the sugar in the orange juice.
but you discovered that people were addicted to finding their pathway through life, so you switched to consulting.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's been fun. I feel very blessed that I've had a chance to meet all sorts of wonderful people on the planet, including you, Marshall.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, you and your brother, I've had great time. Your brother came to my opening, my book signing a few months back.
Oh, okay, great. And I just realized your name isn't Marshall.
Oh, really?
It's Franklin.
You know,
Yeah.
I didn't realize my name was Franklin.
Okay. Well,
When I went, my brother, when he took me to get my social security number,
mm,
I was 16,
yeah,
and he said, "What did you put on the paper when you went in?"
yeah.
I said, "I put Frank." He said, "Your name's not Frank." I'm going, "What?" He said, "Your name is Franklin."
Oh, okay. Well, I'm glad he
I
got
didn't
that.
even know. I didn't even know my name was Franklin back then.
Boy,
So,
boy, that's the nice thing about having siblings, that sometimes they can come in handy.
yeah, he was an older brother,
Okay.
but a lot of people do call me Marshall.
Oh, they do?
I don't know why it's so easy for them to do that as opposed to Franklin,
Yeah.
because
Well,
Franklin.
when they see that big badge on your chest, they think your name is Marshall.
Yeah, well, it's probably easier to say than Franklin. There's a lot more effort to say Franklin. Marshall is just rolls off.
Yeah. Now, is it okay if from now on I don't call you Marshall and I call you Marshmallow?
Well, I don't know if my wife will like that.
Okay. You can ask her tonight.
Okay.
And if she
She-
gives the go ahead, I'll just call you Marshmallow from now on.
She's going to want something more masculine.
Okay, great. Yeah. I'll call you Mr. Marshmallow.
I have to write a book about that.
There you go.
Children's book.
Yeah. Well, this has been great to connect with
Yeah.
you today, Franklin, and I'm looking forward to connecting with you soon.
Yeah.
Again, thank you so much for dancing with me today, and I'm looking forward to spending more time with you. And so I hope you have a great day.
Yeah. Well, thank you for coming, Dave. And I'll plan to come to the meeting on Thursday.
Okay, and my teddy bear wants to say hi. Yeah, here's my teddy bear right
Oh,
there.
cool.
Yeah, and I want you to know the note on here. It was given to me by my mom, and she said, "I swear you're looking younger every year, but don't go batty and forget your underwear. Love,
Oh,
Mom."
well, I should be using my cat on here because I
Yeah.
have my talking cat.
Okay.
You squeeze the gold paw,
Yeah.
and it has 30 days of quotes, positive quotes.
Wow.
So every time you squeeze the gold paw, you get a positive quote.
Man, that's brilliant.
You have time, I'll show it to you real quick.
Okay, sounds good. Yeah.
Let me grab it.
Okay, grab it. Yeah. Mm. Mm. Wow.
So you see the gold paw?
Yeah.
Your future is filled with many wonderful colors.
Wow.
You understand what it said?
Yeah, your future is filled with many wonderful callers, is it?
Colors.
Colors. Oh, boy, that's brilliant.
See you succeed in life. We can do a lot working together. Learning will give you power. The world is open for you to express your talents. You are very intelligent.
That's
Wow, that's
yeah.
great. Thank you for sharing that with me. And
He's
I,
waving with his
yeah,
gold paw today.
I think you probably got that from Michael Jackson, right?
Well, I have to teach him how to do the steps, the back up.
Okay. Yeah. Hey, it's great to see you, Franklin. I hope you have a good
Okay,
day.
thanks, Dave.
Okay,
All
take.
right.
Bye-bye.
Bye.